Hi, parents, and welcome to A Teen's Perspective. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and I'm going to share with you every single coaching tool that I use to help teenagers maximize their full potential. In today's episode, we are going to discuss back to school motivation. Now, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe because each week I share tips and tools on how to help you as parents grow your relationship with your teenager. The only reason you're listening to this podcast is because you have a desire to help your child maximize their potential. In order for that to happen, there needs to be two things in place. Number one, they have to have a working relationship with the parents or guardians. Now, when I say a working relationship, I'm not saying you guys have to be best buddies. I'm not saying that you have to agree on everything. I'm not even saying that there has to be 100% smiles and peace in the home. But the relationship has to at least work. There has to be some type of boundaries and respect for those boundaries, even if at times there's some nagging or arguments. But you have to at least have a working relationship. Now, if you follow this podcast, you're going to go beyond a working relationship because the ultimate goal of a parent with a teenager is to become wise counsel. That's the ultimate goal. Think about that. You are the parent right now, but at some point, your child will leave your home and start their own life. And at some point, your child will be grown and they will have their own family. So what's not sustainable is you telling your child what to do all the time and taking away their phone when they don't do the right thing. That's not sustainable because at some point, that's not going to work because they won't even live with you. But what is sustainable is you being considered wise counsel. In other words, when they're making a decision in the future, they consider you. They want to talk to you. They want to run things by you. They want to get your opinion. That is the ultimate goal for parents because we want to have an influence over our child forever. So at the very minimum, you need a working relationship, but my goal is to get you to where your child views you as wise counsel. Now, the other part of a child maximizing their potential is they need a life coach. That's a fact. Humans naturally stay within their comfort zone. We do. Just think about it. We like things that are familiar. And it's not just because of us, it's because of how our minds are wired. We are wired to do things that are comfortable to us. And we naturally avoid things that are very uncomfortable to us. And this happens without us knowing. Because most humans will say, hey, yes, I want to maximize my potential. But they do very little to even discover where their potential is at. We tell ourselves that we're not smart enough, not good enough, not fast enough, not strong enough. We have all this not enoughness that limits our potential. Well, guess what? Teenagers have it even more, especially in this generation. So in order for them to maximize their potential, they will have to have someone in their ear coaching them to overcome the discomfort and push through it. Life coaching is critical for a teenager if they want to maximize their potential. Now, today, I want to focus on this motivation for back to school because parents, we've done this multiple times. They end the school year and then they start the summer. And during the summer, they develop these habits that will not translate well when school starts again. The staying up late, the sleeping in, the snacking all day, the gaming for hours, social media constantly. None of that translates well when school starts. Now, some teenagers are pretty good at bouncing back. Maybe they have about a week where they're kind of struggling, but then they get in the swing of things. But a lot of them struggle is because they have developed these habits. And once you have developed a habit, it's literally a habit. Like this is what you do without thinking about it. That's what habits are. They come from our subconscious mind. And then from there, the parents are constantly nagging and fighting with their child to try to get them to develop different habits. It's actually pretty interesting when I talk to parents and they tell me like, hey, I think this year's going to be different. My child is older. They tell me that they have goals. I think this school year is going to be different. And it's almost never different. And the reason why is because the child is not conscious, but 5% of the time. So what does that mean? In other words, the child is conscious. In other words, they are aware of their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions 5% of the time. So that means 95% of the time they are on autopilot. And if autopilot causes them to wait to the last minute to turn in homework or study for a test, well, that's what's going to happen. Just because they're older, that doesn't change anything. There has to be something changed in their mind in order for them to change their behavior. So if your child has not had any type of life-altering events happening, most likely when they get back to school, they're going to show up the same way. Because ultimately, that's how humans change. There's only 3 ways a human will change. Either they hit rock bottom, something bad happens, maybe a near-death experience, or they fail the school year and they have to start over. There has to be something that changes in their life, and it has to be extremely uncomfortable. Humans will change for that. We see it all the time. A husband is an alcoholic, and then his wife leaves him. He has limited visitation with his children, and all of a sudden he stops drinking. So the question is, how did that human just stop? His subconscious mind viewed drinking as pleasurable. That's why he does it. It's a habit, which means that he's not thinking about it. He's not choosing every single moment to drink. It's in his subconscious mind. 95% of the time, he's on autopilot. But in that moment, he stopped. He changed. He changed his mind. How did he do it? Because he experienced extreme pain in his life. And he changed. It was a natural change. Now, there's also another natural change, which is the second way that humans change, is immense pleasure. You win the lottery. Yeah, you'll probably change some habits if you win the lottery. You have a child. That's a life-altering event that brings you pleasure, if you want the child, of course, and then you change habits. So there's 2 natural ways that a human changes. In other words, when I say natural, I mean they don't need to know anything about psychology, human nature. They don't need to know any of that. They just go through life like normal, and they will absolutely change if they experience intense pain or pleasure. They'll change naturally. So that brings us to the third way. This is the way that obviously we promote as life coaches, and that is to change yourself. In other words, we can change how our minds perceives events in our life, and then we can change our habits. So if your child absolutely hates school, we can change their mind to love school. The child doesn't have to fail. The child doesn't have to get kicked out of school to all of a sudden change his habits towards school. Now, why does this work? Well, I explain it to you this way. The only reason we know what's real, like reality, is from our senses, our 5 senses. What we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell, and what we taste. That's how we know it's real. In fact, you can't see me right now on this podcast. The only reason why you know that this is real is because you hear me. You use one of your senses, and that information goes to the brain to process. Now, many people believe that the brain and the mind are the same. They're not. Scientists honestly haven't really figured out the mind. They don't really know. We know it's not the brain. That we know. In fact, the current understanding of the mind is that the mind is a magnetic field around us. That's what the current understanding of the mind is. Now, I'm a Christian, so I have more of a belief that there's some type of connection between the physical world and the spiritual world with our minds, but we really don't know. But we do know that the mind is different than the brain. And the easiest way to understand that is the brain will tell you what's real, but the mind will tell you how do you feel about that. So in fact, I always say that life happens in the mind because it's not necessarily what happens to us that determines our experience of life. It's how we think about what happens to us. It's our belief system. So if you get in a car accident, yes, you felt it. Maybe you could touch the car and see that it's damaged. You see a damaged car. Maybe you hear the sirens or you hear the crash. You know that that part is real. So your senses sends this information to the brain and you know, yep, I was in a car accident. It's a fact. It can't be debated. But one person experiences a car accident and they're like, I am so unlucky. Why does bad things always happen to me? This is not fair. I just had to replace my roof. Now I have a car I have to deal with. This is horrible. Life sucks. Now then you take another person, same situation. Their eyes see the wreck. They could touch it. They felt it. They heard it. So they know it's real. But then they're like, I am so thankful to be alive. There has to be a God that watches over me. I've been taking life for granted. I'm changing that now. I'm about to maximize this life that I have. So the two people experience the same thing, but yet they have completely different experiences of their life. One will continue the day upset, mad, miserable. The other one will continue the day uplifted, motivated, excited about what's to come. So it's not what actually happens to us. It's what we believe about our situation. And that's the mind. That's why I say life happens in the mind. Now, the cool part of that, we can't control what happens to us in life, but we absolutely can influence our mind. Now, there's three parts to the mind, but I want to focus on two of those. There's the conscious mind and there's the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is a part that we're aware of. That's the part we use that we are aware of. It's 5% of the time. So 5% of your day, you are absolutely aware of the thoughts that are going on in your mind. You are aware of how you're feeling, and you're absolutely aware of what you're doing 5% of the time. 95% of the time, your subconscious mind is in control. You're on autopilot. You're not aware of what thoughts are in your mind. You're not aware how you're feeling, and you're not aware of what you're doing. You're just going through the motions. This is the only reason why AI is so effective, is because humans are 95% patterns. We repeat the same thing. We have the same thoughts we had yesterday, and we do the same things. So that's where we have habits come from. So when you look at your child waiting to the last minute to study for a test or turn in homework, we call them procrastinators, and we say it's a bad habit. But ultimately, the child is on autopilot, so they're not even in control of that. And this is why I recommend, instead of parents nagging, that they consider life coaching. Because as a life coach, I can go into the subconscious mind and change how it perceives homework or testing. So we don't have success because we're telling teenagers, hey, you know what? It's a bad idea to wait to the last minute. That would not work. We're literally conditioning their mind, their subconscious mind, to develop a new habit. So they do it automatically. They're going to be on autopilot regardless. You can't change it. Unless you're going to be a monk in a cave meditating constantly, you may can change your 5% to maybe 7 or 8%, but you're still on autopilot majority of the time. So your child will be on autopilot. So our job is to change the programming, change the habits. So when they're on autopilot, they're doing the things that we want them to do. So parents, if you're listening, I don't want you to be deceived to believe that just because your child is 1 year older, that they're going to change their behavior when school starts. One of the number one things that I hear about school is that my child is not motivated, whether it's with school, sports, band, dance. I mean, it could be anything. It's always something with motivation. And that's where nagging comes from. Parents nag because they're trying to motivate their child. They don't nag because they just enjoy it. They're trying to get their child to do something. So they nag them. But now you know that that's not effective, that we have to reprogram the subconscious mind so it can develop the new habits. So if you're interested in learning more about how we can reprogram the mind or condition the mind and what your role in all of this is, definitely schedule a consultation with us at drrjjackson.com/coaching.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. I hope you found the information shared to be very useful. If you're looking for more help and to join other parents who want to grow their relationship with their teens, join our Facebook group. You can find us by searching Teen Motivation and Confidence. And until next time, this is a teen's perspective, helping parents see the future.